The Infiniti Q50 has been in the market for quite a while now, but I still think that in 2023, this car is still a great buy. And today, I'm going to show you why. So, let's roll! Since it was first introduced, the Q50 has received some upgrades and updates, of course, on the exterior. Headlights, facelift, the interior, of course, received some updates. But overall, the platform is very much the same as the first Infiniti Q50. And this year, they've included another edition, which is the one that we have for today's video, called the Black Opal edition. And there's going to be only 50 units for Canada. So if you want to purchase one of these, well, maybe you should. And for this year, Infiniti introduced a new and for this year, there is a Black Opal edition version of the Q50. So what is this new trim? Well, the first thing you need to know is the fact that there's only 50 units available for Canada, so you might be lucky to get one of these. The next thing you need to know is the fact that this has a very unique color. In certain areas, this looks like, well, a black Infiniti. And then if you look at certain parts, it looks a bit of a burgundy and purple mixed together, and there is a bit of a green as well. It all depends how you look at it and where the sunlight is located mostly. Depends on the shade as well. In this case, where I'm standing right now, to me, this looks a bit, well, let's just say black. But of course, if you pay attention closely to the paint, it changes color, which makes this a very unique paint choice in my opinion. The next thing is, of course, on the exterior, there's a few things added. Like for example, we have the grille now, which is blacked out completely. Usually there's a chrome finish around that grille. And then at the front, there is the Infiniti badge, which does come with a backlight, and it turns on based on the daylight running lights. That way, even at night, people can still see that this is Infiniti. It's actually quite a beautiful thing to have in front of this car because it really pops out, especially when you're driving at night. And then at the bottom over here, we have a blacked out grille as well, the bumper at the same time matching the overall paint of the vehicle. Other than that, things remain very much the same. Moving on to the back side, of course, even here we have a blacked out badge in the center. Of course, it is sort of like a satin black, and then we have the Infiniti letters also matching the paint color. On the left side of the trunk, we got the all-wheel drive also blacked out. And if you look carefully, even though this is a Q50 Red Sport, the letter S over here, which is usually in red, it is painted in black. And at the top, the trunk does have a carbon fiber lip, which of course complements the entire car, but at the same time, it kind of disappears with this color. Bumper as well, painted, matching the entire exterior paint choice for the car. Then we got the single exhaust tip on each side with a chrome finish. So overall, this is pretty much what this black Opal offers. Now, one thing I do love is that when you're looking at it on the side over here, it kind of looks green. It changes the color based on how you look at it, and it gets nicer and nicer if it's under the sunlight, in my opinion. Overall, this is what they're offering with this. On the exterior, and of course, you get the standard satin black rims as well with the Red Sport package, which includes the red calipers all around the front and the back side. Even though it's been a long time since this thing came out, I still think this car looks so good. It has aged so well overall that in some ways, if you didn't know, you'd think that this car came out a couple of years ago, not, well, let's just say a decade ago. I love the front end of this car. The headlights are so sexy. The whole design, in my opinion, just really makes this thing more modern than classic, in my opinion. Then you move on to the bumper here, which is carved out so beautifully, making it look like a very sporty design overall. Then the backside, the same thing. You're still getting a single exhaust tip on each side, which again kind of comes up with, that comes with the performance package, which this thing, in my opinion, delivers it so well for the price point. Overall, the design, I hope that the next generation Q50 does not change completely, because this is something that we all love. And I'm sure you guys agree with my opinion that this thing still looks sexy in 2023. Jumping onto the interior, in some ways, this still is very relevant. What do I say that? Well, it offers a wireless Apple CarPlay in this case. And the beautiful thing with this is that you get two screens. You can display the Apple CarPlay at the top, and at the bottom, of course, you have the next screen, which shows you the climate unit, the extra settings, and so on. There's the map at the same time. So in many ways, this thing, it's still very up to date. The only problem is that, of course, the resolution of the screens is not the same as the new generation Infiniti, like the QX60 for that matter. So overall, it's still not a bad deal. In fact, they're touch screen, so it does compete very well with, let's just say, the Lexus IS or the Acura TLX, which does offer a massive screen, but is not touchscreen. You get that little trackpad in the center. Of course, the cluster is not digital, it's semi-digital. You got a center screen with analog speedometer and tachometer. It does not have, of course, a heads-up display, which a lot of modern cars do, but it does have heated seats, ventilated seats. You got a 360 camera, which is very helpful. There is a sunroof, beautiful leather interior. The design in many ways is very, well, modern in my opinion, although this came out a very long time ago, but it did receive an update midway. The steering wheel, it's nice, beautiful leather with the red stitching around it. Then you have paddle shifters at the back. There's the center part over here, which of course you can control the infotainment displays with the center unit in the center. There's different driving modes for this Sport Edition version. The Red Sport, you got the Sport Plus, Sport, Standard, Eco, and even Snow, because this is an all-wheel drive. There is a beautiful climate unit, dual zone, that you can control with buttons and the screen at the same time. And for people that still use CD player, well, this does have one. The passenger seat and the driver's seats are powered in case if it's too much hustle using manual adjustable seats. It does have, in fact, the memory seats for the driver's side. There is two options you can set it. And for the driver's side, you get a few extra options for your seats. So for example, you can do the side adjustment part with the button located in the front. Then you have the center part of the recliner. You can push it further out or back. If you want to adjust your back, this thing will do all that for you. And of course, don't forget the price point of this car. And it does have power seats for the driver, moving the recliner, the seat back and forth. It's perfect. It does have a control unit for the side mirrors as well. So in many ways, this, in my opinion, is still very up to date. It also has a power steering column, which is quite impressive for the price range of this car. One thing that I hope Infiniti could include in the next generation, of course, a wireless charging pad, which this doesn't have, and a bit more USB ports, because there's only one USB here, and there's a USB-C, which is nice to have, but I think the wireless charging pad would make a difference. Now, the good news is that Infiniti has introduced the new models with new infotainment display. So you got the QX60, which has a massive screen in the center, has a digital display at the same time. There's a heads-up display, wireless charging pad. This doesn't have heated seats. The new models do. So overall, what I do expect from Infiniti for the next generation Q50 is, of course, a full digital cluster, heads-up display. Maybe they will get rid of the two-screen option. It will be just one screen, although I think this still does the job very well, in my opinion. And of course, if you don't want to use both screens, you can only use one of those. One thing I love about it is that when you put it in reverse, the second screen at the bottom, well, it's still working, so it doesn't turn off. Meanwhile, the top screen is where the 360 camera is located. And for the time that it came out, the 360 camera, it's still very, very good. A Lexus IS500, which I'm driving this week as well, has, well, let's just say a new infotainment display, although the layout is very outdated, but the actual screen has a new resolution. Well, even the 360 camera in that car, it's not that great in comparison to this, and it does cost a lot more money. And even the space overall, for me as a driver in the first row, I feel very comfortable. I feel lots of space around this area, leg room, headroom as well. The seats are nice and comfortable. Love the stitching. With the Opal edition, there is this black stitching around the actual bolsters, but the side one has it in sort of like red, a shiny red color, which again gives it a nice contrast overall. I love this car. Even to this day, in my opinion, it's still very competitive. You get Bose audio system. This is the Performance series. Amazing audio quality overall. It just makes sense that this car, it's not completely outdated. Of course, it would be nice to get some things in the next generation, but overall the design is superb. And Infiniti has never made bad looking cars, in my opinion, for the price point. And even the interior, it might be outdated to some. I still think it does the job just fine, hence why they're still selling them. If it's not broken, why fix it? Sport mode all the way through. The difference when you have it in normal modes to Sport Plus, the steering gets a bit heavier. But in normal mode, the steering is so light in this car. Pulls hard, really pulls hard. Why? 3-liter V6 twin turbocharged. We know this engine is pretty much across the board in many vehicles. The Q60, the Nissan Z has used this engine. Pretty popular. You know what blew my mind? I expected Nissan to actually use this in one of their big SUVs. That would have been interesting. Imagine a QX60. 400 horsepower, 350 torque, 7 speeds, automatic transmission, all-wheel drive. It is a 7-speed because, well, the car has been in the market for so long now. But it does the job well. Here's one thing I love about this platform, because it's been so long, it's been so, well, let's just say overtuned in many ways. There is a good aftermarket for this car. So if you really want to make it a little bit faster, you can do that. And the beautiful thing about the Red Sport specifically, not necessarily the Opal edition that we're driving today, is that there is still even used models. If you can't afford, for example, the new one, or find a good deal on the used market, the opportunities are limitless. There's so many options out there that make this such a great buy. Price-wise, in Canada, the Opal edition starts about $69,000. It is a little bit pricey, I have to say, but that's of course because of the paint. The base Red Sport starts at about $64,000. That is impressive. You're probably going to say, Sam, I have so many options to buy. Well, let's talk about it. Let's start first with the Acura TLX. Great machine as well, but it's not as fast as this. 1. 2, the TLX Type S, to get to the Red Sport level, is a little bit more money in comparison. And the TLX Type S is not even fast. Second, the TLX Type S doesn't have 2 screens. It has a single screen, which is not touch screen in 2023. It doesn't have a full digital cluster. It's a big, heavy machine. It's comfortable, I like it, but if I had to pick, for me, it would be this. Next thing, let's talk about the Mercedes C43. It's completely out of discussion because it's like a $92,000 Canadian right now. It would be about $82,000 US. So the difference is day and night because the pricing and all that. Is it a better car? Well, that depends how you look at it. Next car, let's talk about Lexus IS 350. The IS 350, it's not even comparable to this. So the closest one for the Q50 Red Sport would be the IS 500. Well, the IS 500 is a lot more money. It's V8, it's not as fuel efficient, it's rear-wheel drive. So that's off the list, and that's about $82,000. So now you jumped another 10K. Let's move on to another competitor. I think the closest one would be a Genesis. A Genesis G70 would be a good comparison to this too. But the Genesis, on one hand, first of all, it's a bit smaller on the inside. Second, it's a little bit more expensive than this. Well worth it because it does offer better infotainment display, ventilated seats, something that you're missing here. What else? BMW M340i would be another comparison to this. M340i is $85,000. That's a good buy overall, but it's a lot more money than this. That's a very well rounded vehicle, performance-wise, driving capabilities, looks as well, technology, yes, but it's a lot more money than this. So you are left with very little options out there, in my opinion. So this, even though it came out years and years ago, it's still very good buy. You can't deny that. Once you lay down all the competition, you realize it's actually a really good package. And I kept thinking to myself, like, what else can you buy for that kind of money? Especially for the Red Sport, $64,000. A Corolla GR is selling for $67,000. They can't even compete with this car. So what's left? Nothing. This is why this thing is such a great buy, and hence why Infiniti didn't kill this, because people are still buying it. I just saw the other day when I picked this up that there was one with those red cover stickers around it that was getting PDI'd by a dealer, which means someone ordered a brand new Q50 in 2023. To some, that's insane. It drives nicely, it's comfortable. The sitting position for me as a driver is perfect. There's a lot of space in here. Visibility is great in this car overall. It's all-wheel drive. That means wintertime, slap on some winters, and you're good to go. The fuel efficiency is still there. Not the best in class, but it's still there. It's a twin-turbo V6. Don't expect crazy fuel efficiency because it's not going to be there. This car is driven a little bit, it's geared towards a bit of a performance. If you want to, you can get a smaller version engine of this, well, less a detuned version of this engine that will be better fuel efficient. I think this car does very well, in my opinion. It just competes well with the competition. It does pretty well for the pricing, and technology-wise, it's not that outdated. I have my wireless CarPlay right here, top screen, and I have a second screen. I actually like this. This is actually awesome because I don't have to move away from my Apple CarPlay while I'm using the stuff in the screen over here. It's perfect. I have blind spot assist, audio system is premium, bolster adjustment for my seats. It's got everything that you need. It's a very good package overall. Yes, in most people's eyes, this is going to look outdated because it's been in the market for so long. But why fix something that is not broken? Which brings me to the next question about the future of the Q50. Here's what I think they should do in the next generation. First of all, I hope they keep the same engine, maybe increase the size of the turbos to make a little bit more horsepower. They cannot move away from this beautiful design too much because it's still very relevant today. It looks like it didn't come in 2015, 2013. It came out today, in my opinion. It still looks great. I have the IS 500 behind me, and that car is not even any better to that because it's just facelift option. So the next car should have slightly better exterior, but not totally away from that design. Of course, the interior, we're going to need new screens here, new center console. I still like a shift knob, like a proper shift knob like this one. I think there's going to be a digital screen, a heads-up display, more comfort features on the inside. It makes sense. And as we talk about this car, there is an IS 500 pulling up right here. Hello, sir. There we go. Should we race? Not on public roads.